All right, what's going on, everybody? Stamp of Approval, episode 9. We're back to basics tonight. We don't have a guest scheduled, but, I'm your host, StampPG. We have some very fun topics to talk about tonight, and also a little bit of things that I've kind of had on the back burner since episode 1. I kind of wanted to ease my way into a little bit of the more serious personal topics, mainly just because, for episode 1, I didn't really want to get into a lot of super personal stuff. That was really just meant to be kind of an overarching introduction, and it's something that I really wanted to keep things a little bit vague for the beginning. Producer dropped the ball on scheduling a guest spot, yes, and the producer is me. Writer, executive producer, director, StampPG. It's a one-man production, so yeah, whoever the fuck that producer is, you're on thin ice, buddy. So yeah, first thing I wanted to talk about is, since we are, it's early February, it's tonight specifically, it's February 7th where I am, but, there's been a lot of talk about New Year's resolutions, and I actually just had a pretty in-depth conversation with one of my good friends and coworkers about this. And we were just kind of talking about, why is it that 90% of New Year's resolutions fail? And, it's not hard to determine why. Like, if anybody has tried to go to the gym, or any local gym like a Planet Fitness, or maybe even you have a work gym or something that's readily available to all the employees, what typically happens is you'll see the first week of January absolutely packed. You have to wait to use any of the machines. Everybody's like waiting for the doors to open in the morning. And there's just a cavalcade of people ready to try to work out. And they're all in the sort of new year, new me mindset. Well, as January progresses and we ease in closer to February, those people start to weed out more and more and more. And then by the time February hits, 80-90% of them are gone. And then you can do whatever you need. You've got access to all the machines. You're not waiting anymore. It's just a very common, it's literally known as, in the industry of gyms with memberships, it's known as like the stimulus package time, because they know that everybody's going to be buying a membership. Everybody's going to be buying the different tiers, and some people will just go ahead and buy a yearly membership depending on how the payment structure is. So it's just so well known that this happens, that January is like Black Friday for the gyms that sell memberships, is the funny thing about it. But, what it ultimately comes down to is that people don't usually come into it with a plan. If you're setting any type of long-term goal, even if it's a short-term goal, something you want to complete in a sort of 30 to 60 day time frame, you're not going to be able to get there without any kind of plan in mind. You're going to be encountering all kinds of things that maybe you hadn't considered, and the first roadblock that hits, you're going to be, scratching your head as to how you're supposed to get across, how you're supposed to work around this, because you didn't necessarily consider it. And it doesn't even really come down to, extensive planning about, oh, what if this happens or what if that happens? What it really comes down to is, where do you want to be when you're done with this? A lot of people say, well, I want to lose weight. Okay, do you know what your TDEE is? Do you know what your total daily energy expenditure is? Do you know what kind of calorie deficit you need? Do you know what kind of diet you should be eating? And a lot of times they're like, well, I'm just going to start going to the gym and then I can eat kind of whatever I want. It's like, no, that's not how that works. I made that mistake in the past. I thought, well, if I'm getting, 20 to 25,000 steps a night in retail, I can eat whatever I want. And that is not true. There's no world in which diet is less important than exercise. Diet is always the most important thing. Exercise is great, but exercise is more of a supplemental action than it is the primary. It's not the primary function of losing weight. That has always and will always be diet. And, there's a lot of fad diets out there. A lot of fad diets. There's everybody's doing keto now, and there's carnivore, and there's vegan, and there's fruitarian, and there's paleo, all these fucking fad diets. But what it really comes down to is you need to lower your carb intake, increase your protein intake. The diet literally is called high protein, low carb, and eat less calories than you burn. That's all you have to do. And a lot of people are like, oh, fad, as in fashionable diets. What's up, Salt? But yeah, as in fashionable diets. That's what I meant. So what it really comes down to is, just eat less calories than you burn. I mean, a lot of people are like, oh, it's not that easy. And no, it's not that easy for everybody. Of course, there's always going to be extenuating circumstances, but in a general sense, yeah, that is how it's going to work. Not just meat and salt, but I've definitely been doing better here lately about eliminating carbs. But that's the thing, like, and you will notice if you switch to high protein, low carb, and you used to be like eating a ton of bread and pasta, give it like 3 weeks and you're going to start to notice, whoa, you're going to lose like 4 or 5 pounds, you know, just in your first 3 weeks because water weight, a lot of other factors, but you get the idea. I'm not trying to make this a whole diet advice because, I mean, fucking look at me. I'm not exactly the picture of fitness, but you know, the point just being is reducing carbs, increasing protein, good protein too, not like, you know, fucking chicken nuggets, like frozen chicken nuggets aren't going to help you because they're breaded. Yeah, carbs have a lot of calories. They fuck with your insulin levels, your blood sugar levels, all kinds of stuff. So reduce drastically the carbs, increase the protein, make a calorie deficit, and you're honestly over halfway there as far as a goal. Now, I personally recommend MyFitnessPal, which you can use it for free. Of course, they have subscription plans that let you utilize a lot more features. It is what it is. I don't pay for the subscription, but it lets you add a breakfast, lunch, and dinner item, or as many items as you want, and it'll basically do the calorie calculation aspect of it for you and say, hey, you have X amount of calories left for the day on your deficit. If you overdo it, you're now in the negative and you're kind of going backwards progress-wise. So anyways, what it comes down to, everybody loves to set a New Year's resolution, but a lot of people don't want to plan for it. And a lot of people honestly just kind of give up. Like I've seen so many people say, well, I'm not ready to lose weight yet. You can't just wait until you're ready. You'll never be ready. You know, it's like the whole just one more day thing. You know, I'm just going to order fast food one more time, just one more time. And before you know it, 3 years have gone by and every single day you've used that excuse. I've heard that from people addicted to drugs as well. Just one more time, just one more time. And then there you go. 3 years have passed and you keep using that excuse. So just become vegan, get the superpowers. Absolutely. It's that easy. So you have to come into it with a plan. And, you know, it's funny. People always talk about endorphins and they talk about runner's high. I get that personally from skateboarding. I've been skating since I was around 14 or 15. I was originally inspired by Viva La Bam and the CKY crew. And the thing about skateboarding is that's extremely valuable and also unique is that there's no shortcuts. It's a hobby. It's a hobby, and it's a way of learning a skill that gives you absolutely no shortcuts. I'm also a big fan of some of the like virtuoso guitarists like Yngwie Malmsteen, and he says the same thing. He's like, everybody always asks him, what's your advice? How do you get so good at playing guitar? And he says, blood, sweat, and tears. That's it. He said, there are no shortcuts. Put in the time. It's going to be a massive amount of time. It's going to take you a long time. That's just how it goes. That's what was expected of me, and that's what's going to be expected of you if you want to be this good. Yeah, the CKY crew is what originally inspired me to get on a board. And I actually still, to this day, I ride Bam's exact setup, which is Ace 44 trucks with Bone Swiss bearings and Spitfire Formula 4 wheels. I still ride Bam's exact setup. He went on a podcast in like 2015 and talked about his skate setup, and I copied it exactly. I know that he's in, you know, a very odd situation right now. Like he's in and out of rehab and he's like fighting for custody of his son and stuff. But look, that guy was massively inspirational for me, and I know millions of other people in terms of just getting us on the board and getting us started with this hobby. And no, but I did have an Element board. The first board I ever made was actually a Bam Heartogram board, which if anybody doesn't know, he was obsessed with the Finnish, I believe they were from Finland, the band His Infernal Majesty, Vilvalo. And he basically took their logo and used it as his logo in the show and different things like that. Yeah, dude, I knew so many girls that had the pink version of that. They didn't want to ride the board at all. They just wanted to put it on their wall. And that's cool. You know, I'm not going to call them posers. Sometimes, you know, just buying the boards and and supporting skaters all you need to do. I'm not one of those gatekeepers. This is the thing about skating that's so amazing, is there's all these tropes and there's all this assumption about the way that skaters act. And I've heard from so many people like, oh, I would love to go to the park. I'm learning how to ride my skateboard, but I don't want to get judged by the people that are actually good. That's very rare. Skaters are some of the most inviting, welcoming, and friendly people you will ever meet. They're literally, they're people that just live their life one runner's high to the next, one endorphin rush to the next. They're very happy people. And trust me, when I'm on a skateboard, this is like close to the happiest I am in life. It's not quite the happiest, but it's close to the happiest I am in life when I'm on a skateboard. And anytime somebody sees a new person learning, their inclination is to immediately help them and show them things. You know, everybody wants to run up to you and show you how to do things. Like if they see you struggling how to ollie, within seconds, you will have 5, 6, 7 people being like, oh, you know, you need to try to do this and try to keep your weight here and try to keep, this is your foot position and this, that, and the other. It's not what people think. I don't know where this trope of skaters being pretentious, you know, arms folded type people that aren't going to want to show you how to do things. I don't know where this comes from, but it's not based in reality. Every landed trick has like 20 plus falls behind it, fails behind it. Yeah, exactly. And like I said, there are no shortcuts. You're going to experience a lot of pain. Your lower body is going to get absolutely destroyed. You're going to experience soreness in areas you've never experienced it before in terms of like your calves. And skaters have really, really strong bipeds, which are the muscles to the left and right of your shin. And you have to build those up before you can actually be an effective skater. Now, there are some skaters like Nyjah Huston who have never broken a bone somehow. And he's just gotten like severe dislocations and sprains. And I think he went into a seizure because he had a really bad head injury. But he's still out there fucking shredding, and he's never actually broken a bone fully. And, you know, he's one of the most talented. I don't think it's debatable. I think he's one of the most talented skaters in the modern era. So, you know, it just goes to show that physical training and keeping yourself in great shape. And he also does a lot of like yoga. He's got some physical trainers that keep him in, you know, he makes sure that he stretches before every session and everything. So anyways, that's my goal. So my goal for 2024, on top of the other stretch goal that I have, is to make sure we record an episode of this podcast every Wednesday night to the best of my ability. And even if I can't record one, like next Wednesday night's Valentine's, so I may not necessarily record one live, I'm still going to release one. So we may either record an extra episode live, or shit, I might just record one offline with a guest, and then I'll just upload it. But I want to make sure I do not miss a Wednesday, because if you want to commit to an idea, like I want to commit to this, and I really believe in this idea, I think that we can really make this thing work. And it already has in a lot of ways. I need to commit, and I need to make sure we're you know, getting an episode out every Wednesday. That's very important to me. But with that being said, something else that I've been wanting to talk about for a little bit, and I kind of touched on this in, I believe, episode 3, is people quitting streaming in YouTube right now. It seems to be happening en masse, and we have so many people who I used to frequent their streams and I used to watch them all the time, that are just out of nowhere like, yeah, I can't do this anymore. I'm done. You know, there's even a few people that are still streaming that are just making it clear every night that they're not happy doing this. They've kind of lost sight. And there's even people that have made it, you know, quote unquote, people that are partners. Like that's the ultimate goal for a streamer like me, is to even become a partner. And there's people that I follow that are partners and have been for years that are like, yeah, I'm just burnt out. I just don't enjoy this anymore. And I'm considering other hobbies because I'm so burned out. And, you know, it's tough because, you know, it's hard to even admit that to an audience, because the way that Twitch works is any negativity is immediately met with harsh criticism of, you know, people kind of fold their arms like, oh, you poor baby, you have to sit down and play video games. Oh, it must be so hard. But to be fair, there are a lot of things that come along with that people may not consider. Like we were talking about, I believe the episode was Pinku Idol. We were talking about how it seems like a rite of passage to get swatted or your information put out there, doxed, you know? Why? why does that have to happen? It's like once you reach a certain degree of popularity, it's just like a guarantee that you will be swatted. And we see it happen to people who aren't aggressive. They don't like call out their audience in any particular way. Sometimes people can be swatted over a difference of opinion in a video game. And, you know, these people that do these things are very good at remaining anonymous. They're very good at spoofing their information, connecting to VPNs and making sure that nobody knows, you know, the real identity of the person that's contacting the police departments. And, you know, in a lot of ways, they kind of get away with it. And there's not really any repercussions, unfortunately. So, and that's just kind of the way that things work. Now, to be fair, a lot more of the local police departments know about this phenomenon of swatting. They know what it is and they know how to be better prepared for it. But that's still not to say that, you know, that's just one aspect. It doesn't mean that, you know, there's enough of a deterrence that people are going to stop doing it. In fact, I would say it's ramped up a little bit here in recent couple of years because, you know, people have gotten better at spoofing their information, VPNing to other areas that they're not even from, a lot of different things you can do to completely hide your identity. So, you know, it just comes back to people not being able to handle like the responsibility of being anonymous on the internet. I think that's a big factor. And, you know, as large of a factor as it is, it's also important to remember that the most fucked up part about all this is that it's kids doing this. I mean, we're talking like 14, 15-year-old kids doing swattings, not even understanding, you know, the consequences of their actions or that, you know, if they were to get caught, they'd be completely ruining their life. They don't care. You know, this is all just laughs and internet trolling to them. You know what I mean? I'd be saying way too much about myself out there. Well, you know, and I will admit, like, times have changed in a lot of ways where people are a lot more open about where they live. Like, I've noticed a lot of streamers will just straight up say the city that they live in because they know like the information's going to be out there anyway. So who gives a shit? Or they'll say like, yeah, I live right outside of Atlanta, Georgia, or Chicago, Illinois, or something like that. And I'm like, I'm not even going to go that far. I try my best to not even mention the state that I live in. I just talk about states in a very vague sense. And I'll say, oh yeah, in this state there's this, and in that state there's that. You know what I mean? Because why? I don't feel any need to put that information out there. None whatsoever. The people that need to know. And that's not information that I want or need to be putting out there whatsoever. So, you know, when it comes to quitting Twitch and quitting YouTube, I can totally understand because the list of responsibilities is a lot higher than some people might take into account. And it's the schedule that just it just beats you down sometimes. Like, you know, I do the October marathon and I've been very open and honest about the fact that the last October marathon I did almost burned me out for good on playing video games. I mean, seriously, it did. Every night of October, I was live. I only missed one day. And on that day, I was still in Discord working on some stuff, getting VODs uploaded. You know, I was still working on the stream. Every other night of October, I was live. No exceptions. I sacrificed sleep all month. And I'm not trying to like go back to this because I've talked about this so many times. But my point is just that it's easy to get burned out. And a lot of these YouTubers, that's kind of their reasoning is they say, look, guys, I've been doing this for X amount of years. I just can't keep this up anymore. Like my body won't do it. I can't keep sacrificing sleep. It's not going to be good for my long-term health. And ultimately, the thing that's most bizarre about it when you really think about it is these are arbitrary. Like nobody is telling me that I have to go live on Twitch Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Nobody's telling me that I have to make a podcast episode on Wednesday, but I do it because if you do something, I forget who said this quote, but basically the premise around it is if you do something, whether you feel like it or not, you're going to succeed over the person who only does it when they feel like it. We're talking about podcasts on the podcast. Yes, exactly. Still talking about Schmeat? No, we're not. But that's the thing. If you only, if you only stream when you feel like it, and you only record a podcast episode when you feel like it, versus somebody that does it like clockwork every single time that it's scheduled to happen, you're going to have so much more. By the time a year is passed, by the time 3 months have passed, you're going to have made so much more progress toward your goals than the person who only does it when they feel like it. You know what I mean? So you just have to make it happen. You know, and I'm not gonna lie, I think everybody's experienced this before. I'm sat here, fucking all the lights are on, everything's ready to go. My finger's hovering over the start streaming button, and I have that moment of, do I really want to go live for the next 4 hours? I think everybody's had that. They've experienced that once or twice, and you just got to do it. You know, you just got to fucking do it. And then as soon as I click start streaming and I get the Silent Hill playlist going, it's fine. The energy is there. It doesn't matter how little sleep I've got. I'm ready to go for at least 4 hours. I got to reapply for school. Got to stop procrastinating and just do it. Yeah. And, you know, sleep is incredibly important. I'm not going to lie. So I don't recommend sacrificing sleep for those types of goals. But my primary point in all this is just to say that, you know, it works the same, going back to the gym and the skating philosophy. If you get on your board and you practice ollies for 3 hours, even if you feel like it's the last thing you want to do, you're still going to be making progress, whereas other people wouldn't have even started. I was just blowing my nose really quick. So, in that aspect, I think it's one of the most important things, and pushing through the I don't really feel like doing it mentality is huge. So, you know, sometimes people ask me, and I've had people ask me this in the past in my Discord and elsewhere, where they'll say, you know, especially for October, like, how do you do this? How do you go live every single day? Like, I just can't find the motivation to do it. And I'm like, well, to be honest, it's not self-motivation. It's just I've set a goal and I have a lot of stubbornness about me.
This town is full of monsters. How can you sit there?
Okay, I'll have to mute those just for the next little bit. But it's kind of like the same philosophy I was talking about, you know, just while we're recording the episode. But yeah, it's kind of like the philosophy I was talking about, where if you only do something when you feel like it, you're not even going to be making progress toward that. So no, it's not some magical self-motivation that I tap into. It's just, look, I told people that I'm going to be doing this, and if I don't do it, I have no integrity. So why would I not just go live? You know what I mean? My dad always told me that if you don't have your integrity, you don't have anything. So if you get to the point where you're flaking on people, they ask you if you want to do something, don't say yes and then not do it. Just say no. You know? It's one of my biggest pet peeves in life is people that are unreliable. They tell you, oh, I'm going to be, yeah, bro, I'll definitely come and do that with you. And then when the time comes, they're like not answering your messages. And you're like, oh, we still doing this? Ghosted. Even though you see them online elsewhere. And you just know that they're winding up the excuse. Sorry, I got hiccups. You know, they're just winding up the excuse machine. And it's like, well, that's fair. But, you know, just tell me on the outset that you didn't really want to do it. I would respect you a lot more if you did that instead of this weird, you know, like agreeable behavior when I ask you a question, and then when it comes time to actually do something, you just kind of flake on me. Like, just tell me no. I would respect that a lot more, really. Had motivation to stream when I did, because I felt like I had a few people to stream for, and then the main person I felt like I kind of streamed for dumped my ass, and then I just kind of lost the vibe. Well, that's the thing. You know, we've had a ton of people around here that have disappeared and stopped watching over the years, but like the amount of people, the people that watch me now, the names in chat, some of them are similar to a couple years ago, but in a lot of ways they're totally different. I mean, mods, VIPs, just regs, everything ebbs and flows with streaming. And, you know, it can be a little bit demotivating if you go live and, you know, you only see a couple people chatting. But the thing is, that's not the primary focus. Like, if streaming's not fun, why are you doing it? Is always my main mentality. And that's always something that I push. Like, if you're going to go live and you're not having fun, what was the point of that? You know, why did you even go live? So, you know, if you're having fun and you're enjoying yourself, it's going to translate. And what you find is people notice, and people resonate with that. And, you know, if it gives somebody a distraction for 4 or 5 hours on a Monday, Wednesday, or a Friday night, and I'm sitting here playing a shitty Silent Hill game, you know what? It's totally worth it, because even if it's 1 to 2 people, it was a improvement to those people's day. And it was something that I very well could have just not done. But instead we have this awesome memory of this stream, and everybody had a good time and it was enjoyable to watch. So, you know, I've streamed well over 3,500 hours in the past 4 years now. And anytime people ask me, you know, why do you like, how do you keep doing it at this pace? I'm like, yeah, I still enjoy it. That's what keeps me going. I still enjoy it a ton, being live and talking to Chad, and it's something that has never really degraded whatsoever. Stream has done a lot for me. I appreciate that, Mag. And you're not the only person to say that. You know, we have a community of over 80 people now in the Discord. It's not a small number. You know, comparatively to a large stream, a large community, sure, you could try to say it's a small number, but to me, that's a massive number. So, you know, we have built a community here, and it's something that I don't take it for granted. I don't take it lightly, and I want to respect your guys' time. And if I say that I'm going to be live Monday, Wednesday, Friday night, God damn it, I'm going to be live on those days. You know what I mean? Now, of course, like I've said in the past, I do want to shift focus a little bit more to YouTube, but I've got plenty of time throughout the week to do that. You know, I've got all day Saturday and all day Sunday to work on YouTube. So I don't even necessarily need to spend all that time and energy focused on it throughout the week, because I can do that on the weekends, and I can worry about it when the time comes. Like, just as an example, I've got a couple videos in the works, one about Dead Rising from 2006 and another about the new Silent Hill information and trailers that we just got. So those are going to be fun, but I'd like to stream again, but energy is low. Hey, that's how it goes. You know, what I try to do, and what I'm gonna start doing moving forward, is every night that we're gonna record one of these episodes, and every night that I know we're gonna be doing a first play or something that's gonna require a little bit more energy investment from me, I'm gonna skate before I do it. And the last time I skated before a stream was the second Silent Hill story marathon we ever did, which was a 19-hour stream. I was up 6 hours before that stream. I went out and I skated for a couple hours. I came home and I was like, all right, I'm gonna take a quick nap and then I'll get started. But I just had infinite energy, it felt like. You know, I don't know if it was runner's high, endorphin rush, whatever the fuck it was, but I had so much energy. I was able to skate for 2 hours, already be up for 6 hours, then do a 19-hour stream and not even really be out of breath by the end of it. So it was awesome. And it just unlocks all this energy in me that I wouldn't have had otherwise if I just sat around all day. So that's why it's so important for me to get back on it. And like I've said before, I refuse to be an out-of-shape 30-year-old. So that's a huge goal of mine this year. So anyway, just an overarching, kind of close the book on that topic in terms of New Year's resolutions. Appreciate that, Mag. Just overarching. Yeah. 30-month sub. Yeah, you got the gold chainsaw, huh? Nice. But yeah, you know, I think it's also important with streaming to change things up every now and then. You know, I'm very locked into my horror niche, and a lot of people come here to watch me play horror games, but I'm not gonna lie, the streams of Life is Strange that I've done recently, and games that cover more kind of real world topics, they're more kind of indie mainstream. Oh, indie and mainstream is kind of an oxymoron, but that game is kind of an indie game while also having a lot of mainstream, you know, verbiages and topics and kind of real world drama, you know, problems at home with step parents and drama going on at school in the dorms and that type of thing. I love those games because they give me sort of a through line to talk about real life in a lot of ways. And a lot of times horror games don't really give you that through line unless you just start the conversation completely external to what's going on the screen. That's what it said, but swear I had it before. Yeah, I thought for sure you would, because I think 2.5 years is the highest tier we have. Anyways, and that's also where interviewing other streamers and learning about sort of their backgrounds and how they got started with all this stuff comes from. The first stream that I ever watched was 4Player Podcast on Justin TV. That's why I made my account originally, was to watch 4Player Podcast. And I also watched this girl named Aria Blarg, who actually has a global emote. I'm pretty sure I've talked about this before, but she's got a global emote called Blargnot that was established in like 2012, because that's what she called her subs. And that was where I was introduced to a lot of things like using a green screen. You know, that was the first stream that I learned about chroma keying. Like, whoa, she's like in the game, you know, because you couldn't see the webcam frame and all these different things. So, you know, I think it's like anything. Of course, if your enjoyment of something is degrading to the point that you are not having fun, you're not enjoying yourself the way that you used to, and you're not going to. I mean, let's be honest. Anytime a hobby becomes your job, it immediately loses that magic that it used to have in your life. Like if you're using something to decompress at the end of a tough week and suddenly that thing becomes your tough week, your mentality about it's going to be totally different. And, you know, I always remember this Call of Duty YouTuber I used to watch named Hutch. He got a job at Machinima, which Machinima was like the fucking, just the king of gaming content back then. They were the first MCN, to my knowledge, managerial channel network, I believe it's called. But basically they would manage your channel. They would handle your copyright issues for you. They would contractually pay you a certain amount of money every month. They would, you know, give you a cut of whatever you made in exchange for the massive amount of eyes on you that being on Machinima would give your channel. So it was basically trading notoriety and trading attention and views and watch time and all these different statistics for you making content and uploading it exclusively to their channel. That was kind of like the give and take. So it is a mutually beneficial agreement in a lot of ways, and that's why so many content creators went that route. But that's the thing is, you know, he got a job at Machinima and he made a YouTube video talking about how it was his dream job and he could not believe, and he was like in tears. He was so excited to do this job. And I think he quit it after 6 months because he realized it wasn't everything that it was cracked up to be in his head. And he talked about how he was overworked. He was staying super late and he had no personal life. And he had to travel to all these gaming events like MagFest and PAX East and PAX West and all these different things, E3, to do all this coverage. And the content engine, as he described it, the content engine never stopped. He had to always be on his computer editing. And he had to always be uploading. And he had a very strict upload schedule and all these different things. And he ended up quitting. He quit his dream job because it wasn't what he thought it was going to be. And I remember he made a video specifically saying, you know, I used to come home from I think he was a server, but he's like, I used to come home from my day job. And the first thing I wanted to do was I was just so excited about making a YouTube video. Like just the idea of direct capturing gameplay footage was so mind blowing at the time. And that's all he wanted to do was just upload videos. But just like DJs say, you know, they listen to music all fucking day. So what's the last thing they want to do when they get home is listen to music? Of course. Yeah. So, you know, if Twitch were to become my full-time job at any point, while I would be appreciative of it, I don't know if I could do it personally, because this is what I do to decompress. So if this became my full-time job and I had to shift focus away from making good streams and having fun to, am I going to hit this donation goal? Am I going to hit this sub goal, follower goal? I always need constant growth goals in order to make sure my bills are paid, this, that, or the other. I don't know if I could fucking do it, man, because it's so flaky. You know, every month is different. You don't have the comfort of your employer deducting your taxes, because Twitch doesn't do that. They just pay you out and they say you handle that part of it. So you have to make sure you're saving all your taxes. You got to make sure that all that shit's saved up. If an emergency happens, God forbid, sometimes you got to dip into that and then you have to recoup it. Like it's a lot of stress that people don't necessarily consider about being a streamer. So yes, on the outset, I'm sure a lot of those people are extremely grateful that they do get to do this for a living, but at the same time, there's a lot of it that kind of fucking sucks. Like for us, if we have regular jobs and we get W-2s and all these different things, you're excited for tax time because it means, you know, hey, if you're one of those people that does like the full deduction, you're going to get a nice little refund at the end of the year, especially if you have kids. Twitch streamers, in my experience and what I've seen, dread it like nothing else. They fucking hate tax time because they're just worried about how much they're going to have to pay. Sometimes they'll wait until the absolute deadline of like April 16th or whenever it is, because they dread that time of the year. They know it's going to be a massive amount of money that they need to pay in. They don't know how much it's going to be, how much they have saved up, if they're going to be able to afford it. It's rough, man. It is very rough. And, you know, a lot of times early in the YouTube days, people didn't even, like there was another Call of Duty YouTuber who was like, I didn't even know. Nobody told me that I was going to have to pay taxes. I wasn't saving and I didn't know. So now, and then he got stuck, ended up having to pay his back taxes for like 4 or 5 years. And no, it's not DSP. I just want to make that clear. It was another Call of Duty YouTuber from the time. But, you know, it's all about balancing. And I think it's the same in life. You know, you got to have a healthy balance of everything. It's not healthy to eat, sleep, Fortnite, repeat. You know what I mean? But obviously I'm joking and I'm serious, but what I mean by that is it's not healthy to just eat, sleep, stream, repeat, nothing else, no physical activity, nothing. I couldn't do it personally. And, these streamers that do like 12, 13, 14 hours every single day or 5 to 6 times a week, I don't know how they do it. Big respect. In a lot of ways, I feel like they just kind of make the stream their relaxation time. And that's cool if you can do that, but I'm not wired that way. My brain in stream mode is very different than when I'm relaxing. It's on like high alert and I'm trying to continue conversations and I'm trying to make sure, especially, if I have a guest on, I have to really focus and pay attention to what's being said because I want to make sure that they feel heard and that we're getting into aspects of the conversation that we really wanted to cover and all these different things. So it's really important to find what motivates you. And if you've lost motivation for it or you've lost the ability to enjoy it, something that has really helped me is talking to other people, talking to the other streamers, asking them, what is it about Twitch that motivates you? What is it that got you into watching Twitch? Why did you start streaming? And when I learn that from other people and I hear about their motivations, it by proxy motivates me even more to continue doing what I'm doing. So, and especially if people tell me, I was having a really shitty day and your stream distracted me or cheered me up. That's the battery. That's all I need to hear. And I'm good for like a solid 6 months after that. Not that I need it constantly. I don't need constant validation from people. But when someone tells me that, I'm just like, first of all, I'm extremely grateful and appreciative of it. But it's definitely something that continues my want to make this a legitimate, large scale community. That's my ultimate goal is I want this to be a large community. I want to constantly have community members on talking to them about streaming and content creation. And like I said, in the future, this is a long-term goal, unfortunately, but one of my big long-term goals for this stream is to have some larger streamers on. And I want to talk to them about their motivations and their road and their path to getting there. But the reality of the situation is I'm sure a lot of those people get invited to much more, much larger podcasts. And I'm okay to say that. So of course, I could send out some emails to like their business emails or whatnot, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to get one of them on. Because unfortunately, if you are running an operation of my size and you reach out to someone that is a much larger size, their inclination is naturally to just be like, no, because it feels in a lot of ways that the smaller person is trying to use you for clout. And unfortunately, that does happen a lot. And so if I'm trying to reach out in a sense of, I want to learn from you, these are busy people. I can't expect them to just give me 2-3 hours of their time, when they could be streaming and making a lot of money to pay their bills. So, but that's a goal. I don't expect, I'm not entitled to anybody's time. I'm not entitled to anybody's money. I'm not entitled to anybody's time. I never go live with any expectations. That's why I never have a follow goal, a donation goal. Where is it? You don't see it because I don't have one. I don't have a daily sub goal. Now, of course, if it became a primary endeavor, maybe I would, but I don't go live with any expectations. I feel like that's very pretentious. And there's even been some streamers that'll like hold the stream hostage and say, well, if we don't get X amount of donations in the next 20 minutes, I'm just going to cut the stream. I'm like, what the fuck? Bro, you're not entitled to anybody's money. Where's that coming from? Where's that sense of entitlement even coming from? It makes no sense. Just got to blow my nose really quick. But anyways, in a lot of ways, it's the company you keep, and this is not, I'm not saying anything that you guys don't already know, but it just rings true every single time that we talk about this and every single time that I interact with somebody that, if you are hanging out with somebody a lot, if you are always in their stream, inherently your name is going to be attached to them for better or worse. So you have to be very careful about who you network with. You got to be very careful about who you talk with privately. You need to be very careful about what information you share with them privately. Because ultimately you can't trust anybody. So yeah, it's cool, when you know other streamers and you talk to them and you're in their communities, but in a lot of ways, you got to keep some information close to your chest because you can't trust a lot of people. And I'm not talking about anybody specific. I want to make that clear. That's just the general outlook I've had on life for a long time. I learned many, many years ago, you can't trust anybody. Even somebody that you think is going to be super trustworthy could turn out to be a complete backstabber, and they're just, collecting all the information that you're telling them and sending it to a ton of different people to use it against you, So be very selective about who you tell personal information to. Be very selective about how you share personal things with. And again, I'm not saying anything people don't already know. I'm just reiterating one of the most valuable lessons I've learned online. And there's also, this concept of people pleasing and this concept of not wanting to disappoint others. Like I talked about earlier with integrity, there's a lot of people who will tell you one thing and do something completely different. There's a lot of people that'll say, yes, I would love to, hang out with you on X day. And then when the day comes, they're fucking nowhere to be found and they don't want to do it. I know somebody who's like that, a very personal person, but I'm not going to mention them. You guys already know who that is, but I'm not going to mention them anymore on any of my content. But yeah, that's my primary point. Anyways, just in a nutshell, be very careful about who you talk with. Be very careful about who you share information with. Because it's honestly a healthier mindset to go into it assuming that people are going to use it against you. That way you don't end up making that mistake. So don't let anybody have that metaphorical ammo, if you know what I mean. And, sort of speaking to that, there's been so many instances of people using their numbers against smaller content creators, and this is not even strictly with content creation. This happens everywhere, but people using their numbers, using their clout against others, and using their audience in a negative way. A lot of times that happens, like, with Discord basically has become, Discord is what forums used to be. And if anybody was on the internet pre-social media, forums were everywhere. Yeah, basically it was just a community posting website. You could post photos, you could post whatever you wanted, but usually they would have a strict focus about like a certain video game community or what have you. And you would have to create an account, register an email, and then you could post on it. And Discord kind of eliminated the need for forums because now everybody can sit in these Discord servers and they can discuss these things privately. We can all DM each other. It's free. You don't have to verify a lot of your stuff. Yeah, those forums are very time capsule-y these days, Kendo. Like I remember frequenting a lot of like gaming ones, and GameFAQs forums were really cool back in the day for questions and answers about different things. And yeah. But, we see now that Discords are being used extremely maliciously and in every facet, in every possible way. If two streamers disagree on something, both communities just immediately start up the malicious engine of, let's dox this person or like try to hack into their whatever and get access to like private photos. And then let's leak all those private photos. Yeah, Discord ops, like the term exists for a reason. Like, so if two YouTubers are sort of going at it, they have a difference of opinion, especially amongst like beauty YouTubers and political YouTubers. I swear to God, beauty YouTubers are like some of the most conniving fucking people on the planet with some of the shit they do. They make videos specifically to try and ruin people's lives. They spend all day in their Discords firing up the ops engine to just fucking ruin people. And sometimes they'll just spend time fabricating shit. Yeah, I remember like very recently I went on YouTube and I searched like beauty, and that's it. Like I was going to search up a specific beauty YouTuber drama that I remembered. And there was literally an autofill result that said beauty YouTuber drama 2024 overview. And when I clicked that autofill, there was like a 4-hour long fucking video detailing all the drama that happened all year in 2023. I mean, what the fuck, dude? People wait to the end of the year for a fucking feature-length film on all the drama that happened amongst these people. And, the sad reality is that happens in a lot more communities. It's just not so visible. There's a lot of communities that have low visibility, but still have some very conniving things going on. And that's why you have to really moderate your Discords. Like, yeah, of course you can't. It's not like everybody's going to have a fucking lawyer present in their Discord to be like, I'm a professional, and if you post this again, you'll be hearing from my litigation team or any shit like that. No, but it is important to establish rules and really, really stick to them. If you see somebody, you know, in your chat, you see somebody in your Discord that's trying to test the waters and they're trying to push it and they're making all these passive aggressive comments about people, about you, just fucking get them out of there, because they're at the top of the slope and they're trying to see what all can I get away with. And it's just going to keep getting worse and worse. Like, we've had some people that will whisper me weird shit and then they'll join the Discord and try to send me a friend request. And I'm like, no, like, you whispered me weird shit. I'm not going to add you as a friend on Discord. That's the dumbest thing I could do. You know what I mean? It's like, what are you trying to get at here? So again, it just comes back to, you know, you have to have a very close eye and keep a close watch on your community. Otherwise, things can definitely get out of hand. Yeah, we had a duo of people come in, and we have a rule set up in our Discord that if you don't have a role, if you don't have one of the actual colored roles, like tenant, because the Discord is called Stampede's Apartment, if you don't have at least the tenant role, which is the basic role that lets you see all the channels, the server is basically blank. The only thing you can see is the join and general channel. Everything else is completely hidden, completely locked down and blank. So they were most likely trying to come in and spam some shit. And then because, you know, they noticed that everything was locked down, they're like, ah, fuck it, let's get out of here. So, you know, just that basic line of defense, you got to do it. You got to make sure that your Discord is not completely open to whoever wants to join. Yeah, anybody is capable of joining, but that doesn't mean they're going to be able to view everything that's in the server. That would be just a recipe for fucking disaster, you know what I mean? But, you know, it's very, you just have to be so careful about how you interact with people, man. I hate to keep harping on this point, but it's something that has bitten me in the ass before. And we've had this conversation so many times, but it's something that I want to bring up again. And I want to reiterate that unless you know somebody personally, and you've either grown up with that person or you've known them 5+ years. My personal policy is 5+ years. I don't even do that 3-year shit. I say 5 years. Unless I've known you for 5 years and you've proven to be trustworthy, I'm not going to tell you shit. I'm not going to put myself out there in front of you in the sense of like Discord DMs, or even if we meet in person, I'm not going to do it, because you just can't trust people is what it comes down to. And people you know on the internet, people that are your coworkers who you think, you might think, man, me and this coworker, we're always laughing, having a great time, we're friends. You're not friends. If the chips were down and your job was on the line and their job was on the line, they're not going to back you up like a friend would. So no, you're not friends. You're just two people that are acquaintances who happen to tolerate each other during your 8 hours of work, you know? And, you know, customers who you might think are on really good terms with you, they're not. If they get screwed over even in the slightest, they're going to be at your throat, and they're going to be doing everything in their power to screw you over. So, you know, you have to, it's tough. Like navigating shit like this is tough. And the only real advice I can give is just based on mistakes that I've made. I feel like mistakes are one of the most important things. You know, so many people think to themselves, you know, knowing what I know now, I wish I could go back in time and change things. Honestly, I fucking don't. Because if I were to do that, now, of course, we don't know the mechanics of time travel or how it would work, but if I were to go back in time and change all the mistakes that I made, I would probably be in a lot worse of a situation than I am now, because learning all those mistakes has taught me how to navigate the shitty situations and how to, you know, keep myself shielded from the bullshit in a lot of different ways, in more ways than just one. So, you know, it's really important to just make those mistakes. And the best that we can do is try to give advice for people who maybe haven't gone through them yet. You know, I remember somebody reached out to me recently on Discord about relationship stuff that was going on in their life. And I took the time to try to help them in every way I could, because I'm like, look, if I were in your position and I was coming at it from the perspective of someone who maybe hasn't gone through this before, I would kill for that type of advice. I mean, obviously not literally, but I would figuratively kill for that type of advice to say, look, I've been through it. This is what happened with me. This is what I would recommend you do. And this is what worked best for me. So yeah, I do feel a little bit of an obligation. I mean, obviously I can't do it every single time because I do have to prioritize, but if I've got the time, sure, I'll help you out. It's actually really important to me to do that because I feel like as I get older, you know, I'm pushing 30. I've only been 29 for a couple months, but I'm pushing 30. I was saying that when I was 27. You know, I feel like we owe it to people. That's the least that I can do is kind of pass on some of the advice and the shit that I've learned about life and things that screwed me over for someone who maybe hasn't been through it before. It's extremely important. And, you know, if that's what I can do to help somebody out and make sure that they don't land in the fire, then that's what I'll do. But it ultimately just comes down to the basic premise. It still rings true. A lot of people, younger people especially, think that they know best. And I was like this as well. I went into the workforce when I was 19. 18 was when I started my work study, but I went in really into the like general workforce retail when I was 19. And I thought I knew better than everybody. I thought I'm not going to listen to shit. I'm not going to listen to any of my bosses. I know better than them. I'll show up when I feel like showing up. If I'm a few minutes late, nobody better tell me anything. And I was a fucking asshole. If I were a boss at that time, I would have fired me in a week. And then I had this really great manager. Not going to say her name because I'm not trying to put that information out there, but she basically pulled me into our office, closed the door, which usually meant that you were either getting fired or written up. And she said, your attitude is shit. Just like that. She said, your attitude is shit. And if it wasn't for me, you would have been fired already. I told them to give you one last chance. And this manager was known as being a really cool, laid back manager. So in my brain, that sort of switch got flipped. And I was like, wow, if I'm being this much of a contrarian piece of shit that this really nice, cool, laid back manager is this pissed off about it, I need to change. This isn't how I want to put myself out there. And this isn't how, you know, I'm never going to be able to hold down a job if I keep acting like this. So that in a lot of ways changed everything for me. Now, obviously, it wasn't overnight. I still had some stupid, you know, I'm not going to listen and I'm going to do what I want. I still had some things that kind of lingered. But for the most part, that was when the switch got flipped. And I was like, I don't want to put a negative image of myself out there because people talk and it's not going to serve me well ever. And that's not to say that I'm not being genuine nowadays. I just had a real change of opinion and a change of heart because I something about that dynamic. It's like this manager is so cool. She was the nicest lady ever. You know, she was on good terms with everybody, but she's pissed off at me, like genuinely very pissed off and wants to fire me. That's a problem and I need to fix it. So the way you put yourself out there is extremely important. And, you know, I will never forget that. I remember the exact day that it happened. I remember how I felt after I got out of there. I just felt like shit. I felt like I have a ton of work to do to kind of regain this person's trust. And I'm just not going about things the right way, you know? So a lot of people are very resistant to that. And they'll just fold their arms and say, no, that's not right. You're wrong. What's up, Dr. Ed? They'll say, no, I'm not wrong. You're completely overreacting. And I feel like that's what a narcissist would do is they would sit back and they'd say, nah, you're overreacting. Because what is it? It's called like the narcissist's prayer or something like that, which is basically the tenets of the way that their brain operates, which is, I didn't say that. And if I did say that, it's not what I meant. And if that is what I said and I meant, it's not my fault that you're overreacting to it. You know, it's like no matter what they say or do, they don't expect any repercussions. It's always your fault. Whatever weird roundabout way they have to get there, it will ultimately be your fault. So, but yeah, that's just a story that is very important to me, and it's a very important lesson that I had to learn. Also, don't ever, this is some of the most important advice I can give. Don't ever sacrifice your academia for a girl or a guy, you know, whatever you're into, that's cool. But don't ever sacrifice your college classes. Don't ever sacrifice your tuition money, any of that bullshit, because you want to go hang out with a guy or a girl that you like. Don't ever do that. I made that horrible mistake when I was 18 and don't recommend. Because it's like, what are you chasing ultimately? And if that fizzles out, what do you have left? You got nothing. You know, you got a bunch of wasted time and now you're on shit terms with your professors and now you've got all this catching up to do and all this bullshit. So yeah, please don't ever do that. And I get that it's hard. You know, we all have our crushes and our infatuations and whatnot when we're that age. But, you know, take it from old man Stamp. It's not going to lead anywhere positive. What are you up to tonight, Dr. Red? Dr. Red is somebody that I would also love to have on the podcast sometime here soon so we can talk about this type of stuff. And, you know, college in a lot of ways is not nearly as necessary as it used to be. That's something else I can kind of speak on. I actually want to play Village of Shadows soon, so it's a good thing you brought that up. But the next game we're going to be playing after I do a few more playthroughs of Mortuary Assistant is actually Fatal Frame 2. So just putting that out there. But yeah, I think a lot of the mistakes that I've made, it's funny, I kind of like ran the gauntlet. Oh, what's up, Faye? Long time no see, Faye. Actually, no, you were in here like last stream. What am I talking about? But anyways, yeah, you have surpassed me. That's the furthest I ever made, dude. In a lot of ways, you know, I kind of ran the gauntlet with mistakes. I made like most of the mistakes. Thank you, Faye. Appreciate that. I made like most of the mistakes in my life that I was going to make when I was, you know, sort of 17 to 20. And I made so many mistakes in that time that I was like, all right, well, I've basically fucked up as much as I possibly can, so it can't get any worse. And I've used those mistakes that I've made to navigate everything in my life up until now, and it's been such a help. And the other thing that's been such a help, I want to give a major shout out to, and this is going to sound kind of cliche, but I want to give a major shout out to my dad, and also my mom in a lot of ways, and Bridget. But all three of them, I am extremely lucky to have their guidance on things, because 9 times out of 10, they're right. The 10th is just me being a stubborn little bitch and thinking that I'm right, and then eventually it usually turns around and ends up being 10 out of 10. But that's just me. I think you need a really solid support structure. And my parents, anytime, you know what? If I need my dad's advice on something, I'm like, hey man, can I give you a call? He always says yes. I jump on a call with him and I ask him, and he always gives me great advice. And I understand how blessed I am to have that. I know that's not something that you can just tell people to do, because a lot of times their relationships with their parents aren't like that. But, you know, that's something that's been very helpful for me in life, because it's kind of the situation that I'm having where I can impart some advice to people, but it's amplified because they've got, you know, 25, 26 years even on me. So they have all this extra experience and they can impart a lot of that advice on me. I mean, my dad was the one that sat me down when I was 13 and said, you know, your coworkers aren't your friends. And it just kind of went in one ear and out the other. I'm like, dude, I'm in middle school. Why do I give a shit about this? I was in like 8th grade. Like, why do I care? And then when I went into the workforce, I thought back and I was like, damn, he was fucking right. All these years later, he was totally right. Because when it came down to it and there was a job available, people were doing the weirdest shit. Like there was this overnight position called support manager in retail. that emote is disturbing, Kendo. What the hell? There was this overnight position in retail called support manager, and support manager paid maybe $2 extra on the hour. And people were so desperate for that extra $2 an hour that they would do the most conniving, weird shit. Like I remember I was in the running for this position, and I pulled out my phone to check the time, and somebody was like Michael Myersing around the fucking corner with their phone up, recording me being on my phone so that they could run to a manager and say, he can't be a support manager. He was on his phone. You know what I mean? That type of weird shit. So yeah, you can't trust, if you don't know them personally, you can't fucking trust anybody, because they are all out to get you. When a job is available, or when you know, any type of advancement opportunity shows up, watch your fucking back, because those same people that you thought were your friends are 100% going to stab you in the back. And when it comes to a situation where you need somebody else to back you up, that ain't going to work either. Like they're going to pretend that they would back you up in those situations, and then when the chips are actually down, they're all of a sudden nowhere to be seen. And I'm sure everybody's experienced this at one point or another. Like I guarantee you have. So, you know, it's something where you have to weigh the positives versus the negatives when it comes to putting yourself out there and trusting other people. But my primary point with this episode is just be careful who you let into your social circle. Be careful who you share personal information with, and definitely vet people to the best of your ability. Because if you don't vet people and you don't keep a very close watch on who is participating in your life, then that's how you end up with your personal information all over the internet, and people are going to use that however they want to use it. So be sure that, you know, if you are putting yourself out there in that way, that you vetted this person and you fully trust them. People make me anxious. I might go get oh yeah, didn't you say because somebody was coming over to hang out? Well, you know, and that's the other thing too, is navigating relationships is harder than it's ever been. Hey, appreciate that, Faye. Navigating relationships is harder than it's ever been. I mean, seriously. I'm going to move this over here just during the podcast because it's out of the way of the chat. But yeah, navigating relationships is so difficult now. There's so much catfishing, and there's so much standing up that happens, and there's so much trickery fucking going on. Like, a lot of women and men have admitted, you okay? A lot of women and men have admitted to, you know, using Tinder to get free meals. And you just pretend to be interested in somebody. You know, you put a really nice photo up with a lot of makeup and a lot of filters, and you go on a date with somebody and you get a free meal. And then you basically just cut it off and block them or stop talking, stop responding, that type of shit. And guys do it too. Listen, this is not a gendered issue. Guys do it too. You know, so it's just one of those things. There's a lot of toxicity out there. It's hard to parse through all that information and determine whether or not somebody's being legit or not. So I'm not saying this from a position of, oh, I'm in my glass tower of, you know, I'm not throwing stones, but I'm just saying, like, you know, I'm thankful that I don't have to be a part of that. But at the same time, I really feel for people that are, because it's not an easy, my voice just gave out, but it's not an easy thing to navigate. And it's something that you're not going to be able to figure out overnight. There's a reason why fucking dating gurus are kind of popping back up in the form of these podcasts. And they're trying to tell you, oh, here's how you have Riz, and here's how you handle this and how you handle that. I don't want them to come over to my place because I'm uncomfortable with that, because I live with my parents. Well, you know, I was in that situation for a while too. And, you know, I moved out in 2015 when I was 19 years old. Actually, I was 18 at the time. Yeah. I hadn't turned 19 yet. I turned 19. No, dude, my brain is all fucked up. I was born late 94. So I was either 20, hadn't turned 21 yet. That's what it was. I moved out when I was 20. But I did still date a few girls while I did live with my parents, and it wasn't too weird. And just as long as, you know, I didn't do it too frequently, it wasn't too weird. But I would typically stay at their place instead, just because it was less awkward. But I do, you know, I understand, again, financially, it's not easy to just move out nowadays. It's extremely hard. Moving out is a decision that can't be taken lightly. It's not something that you can just do. And especially nowadays, like, parents have the house paid for in a lot of ways, or they've been in the house for 15, 20 years. And, you know, you don't have to worry about rent. You don't have to worry about these things. I'm never going to judge anybody for still living at home, even in their 30s. Seriously. Because nowadays, with the way the economy is, just generally, it's extremely important. When people say stuff like that too, makes a woman look bad, or say things to make men look bad, to me, it's caveman logic. It's a people problem, not a gender problem. That's 100% true, Dr. Red. Just because it's easier for the opposite gender to do something doesn't make that gender worse, and vice versa. There are 14, 16-year-olds with the mentality of the opposite gender being horrible. Like, you're 15, have you even tried dating yet? Yeah, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's indoctrinating people. I live at home, save money to give to Stampy Faye. I appreciate it, but you don't have to do that. Faye. I don't blame anybody. Seriously, dude. I mean, for fuck's sake, with the amount that we spend on rent, and rent just continues increasing everywhere, especially in the US, I can't blame anybody for staying at home even into their 30s, like 35, 36. I'm not going to judge you at all. Dude, like, live in your parents' basement, for fuck's sake. Like, you know, basically make that your own apartment and save up money so you can do something big in the future. But exactly what you said, Dr. Red, it's almost, in a way, it's kind of indoctrinating younger people that are watching this content, and they're thinking, oh my God, women are evil, or oh my God, men are evil. It's like, no, it's a general toxicity issue amongst people. It's not, you know, it's not specific to women, and it's not specific to men. In my life, I've encountered extremely toxic men as well. Insanely toxic, in fact. Like, probably some of the most toxic people in my life have been guys. scared of living alone. That I can totally understand. You know, when I moved out for the first time, it was very weird. Cheapskate strats, live on your parents' home till they give it to you. Hey, I don't blame anybody for that. I think that's a smart play nowadays. You know, moving out obviously comes with a lot of freedom, but at the same time, with that freedom, it comes with a lot of, yep, I found that hey, what's up, Quesadilla? I found that toxic masculinity I saw in the military, cops, and some county jobs. Oh, absolutely. We even had a boss in retail who had a lot of military background. He was probably one of the most toxic people I've ever met in my damn life. I had gotten what was called a site to store department manager position. And I think I've talked about this story before, but don't know if I've talked about it on the podcast. But a lot of times in retail, what'll happen is they'll have what are called walks. And what a walk is WALK. What a walk is when a district manager or a regional manager will come in and basically walk through the store, make sure everything is up to snuff, make sure the shelves are nice and full, everything is clean, organized, and that your inventory is where it should be. And I was tasked with zoning the toy department, but I don't usually work there. It just happens to be that the pickup area where people place orders online and pick them up, it just happened to be next to it. So they're like, hey, can you organize toys a little bit? So I'm organizing it. Here comes the store manager, the dude with military background, and the regional. They walk by, they just kind of glance over, and they're just like, all right, keep on going. Well, a few minutes later, the store manager comes out, grabs me by the shirt, rips me toward him, and he fucking talks right into my ear. And he goes, yeah, I've fired people for less than that, so you better get your shit together. Because he was like pointing out one little display that wasn't exactly organized. Like, what the fuck, dude? Like, grabbed me by the shirt and ripped me over to him so he could say that shit to my ear. Like, get the fuck out of here, man. What, am I supposed to be shaking in my boots now because you told me that? Mine was different. My parents spent my childhood telling me to leave if I didn't like it and was an employee since I was 10, so leaving home was awesome. My parents did that a little bit too. I mean, I've talked about them positively on the podcast, but we didn't have the best of relationship all the time. You know, when I was sort of 16, 17, I graduated high school and I was going to college because I've talked about it before, but I skipped third grade. When I was in college, there was a lot of that. You know, they didn't like the girls that I was dating because I was dating, you know, sort of emo punk girls that smoked a lot, and my parents didn't like it. And they would tell me, well, if you want to date somebody like that, you need to find somewhere else to live. And they would say things like, if you don't like this, or you don't like that, or you don't like this, go find somewhere else to live. So I was like, fuck it, I will then. You know what I mean? But it's funny because as soon as I moved out, our relationship improved like dramatically. I think it was just a situation where we were just in too close proximity with each other all the time. There's a snake in my booties. Yeah. Bro has to prove he's a man. I'm putting high emphasis on the bunny ears, by the way. Yeah. Well, it's just the military mentality of, you know, telling people off. Yeah, exactly, Quesadilla. I think we were just in too close proximity with each other all the damn time. And as you guys probably know, it's not a recipe for success when it comes to family. You know, if you're living with your family all the time, there's this concept called bitch eating crackers that I learned actually from a video essay a few months ago. That is so true. And what it means is you have built up so much inherent anger towards somebody over something that could be fairly minor that even the act of them just sitting down and casually eating crackers is going to piss you off because you're like, what the, you know, that one thing that they did months ago that pissed you off is still in the back of your head. And you're like, you're just getting unnecessarily pissed off about it for no reason. You know what I mean? You guys have all had that experience, right? Like one particular person that just really sets you off. It doesn't matter how mundane the thing is that they're doing, it still pisses you off. And I've had that before. What the hell is that, dude? What the fuck? That fucking emote is disturbing as hell, dude. I would never ever want to be the parent that kicks out my kid or even threatening stuff like that. IMO, it's just a horrible thing to do. There are exceptions, of course, but generally if I get a kid, my home is their home forever, but I don't want kids, so I'm good. Yeah. Still remembering how they can't put up the toilet. Yeah, it's like just little things, you know, about how they were when they lived with you, or, you know, pet peeves that you have that you maybe told them about, but they didn't fix. they could be sitting there doing the most mundane thing, but all of a sudden it pisses you off to no end that they're doing it. You know what I mean? And we've all had that. Of course we have. Everybody has that to a certain degree. But yeah, I heard about that and I was like, bitch eating crackers. That's not a real thing, is it? Yeah, it is. It's a real term. But yeah, you know, kind of what you said, Dr. Red. I personally would never do that. But I will admit that I wasn't exactly a model son either all the time. And I've admitted that. And I think, you know, admitting it was super important because, again, my relationship with my parents improved once I did admit that. You know, in a lot of ways, I would date those girls and I would dress certain ways and I would do the eyeliner thing specifically because I knew they didn't like it. And I would intentionally push their buttons. I knew exactly how to do it. I knew how to piss them off if I felt like pissing them off, and I would do it sometimes. And yeah, I wasn't a model son either. So for me to sit here on a high horse and say that it wasn't my fault at all is very disingenuous. But at the same time, you know, I still probably couldn't. I still wouldn't do it. You know, I would never tell my own son or daughter to find somewhere else to live, you know? If there was like a behavioral issue, I would try to correct it to the best of my ability or like talk to them about it. But I would never go that route, I don't think. That fucking emo's killing me, Quesadilla. It's like some kind of a canvas painting of Cheeto. But yeah, you know, relationship with your parents is important. You know, friends come and go, but your family's forever. So, you know, make sure that you know, if things are not the greatest. Now, obviously, there are extenuating circumstances, like I say with everything. If there have been things where lines have been crossed and you don't want to reconcile, that's totally fine and respectable. But, you know, for the most part, I think it is very valuable to have that. And, you know, my ability to just call my dad whenever I need advice on something or text my mom or get on a phone call with both of them and just talk to them about life in general is, I don't take that for granted. I really value that. And it's helped me make some really good decisions. Not me maining Blanca on Alpha 3. Dude, I would love to play the Alpha games sometime. Did you guys see that Street Fighter 3 Third Strike is back at EVO for the 20th anniversary of Moment 37? It's main stage, too. I can't wait for that. Third Strike main stage at EVO. That's going to be so cool. We're going to be seeing Moss sticks, and we're going to be seeing all kinds of really cool shit. But yeah, you know, I don't consider myself like a motivational speaker in any way. I'm just imparting things that I've learned over time. And a lot of times what it comes down to is I've made a lot of mistakes and I've owned up to a lot of those mistakes and a lot of things that I'm not proud of, but I actually am in a way. I'm happy that I made those mistakes because had I not made them, I wouldn't be the socially calibrated person that I am now. It was one of the toughest things for me to do was to become socially calibrated. And what I mean by that is not putting something out there. I'm not putting on a face for people. A lot of people will tell you, my IRL friends will tell you that the way I am on stream is exactly how I am off stream. I laugh at the same dumb shit. I talk about the same shit, you know, I'm into the same stuff. I'm not putting on a face for the stream. Because what I've learned over time is that Twitch viewers are a lot more intuitive than people give them credit for. People want to act like it's a bunch of degens, like, you know, mouth drooling at the screen. They're fucking not, dude. Twitch people are very intuitive and they're very smart and they're very opinionated. And if you're coming on stream and you're putting out a fucking character, they're gonna catch on to that, and they're gonna say, you know, this guy, you know, I don't like the energy he's putting out. This is fucking weird. And trust me, they know. So I you know what? It's and this also goes back to me getting punished for lying a lot as a kid. I used to, whenever I would go to school and somebody would be like, "Do you know what this is?" I would just lie and say yes because I wanted to seem cool, even if I didn't know what it was. Or the stupidest thing I would do was Google it. Moo Hoodles is basically an astrophysicist on Twitch. Dude, the CEO of Twitch, Dan Clancy, used to work for NASA, for God's sake. But anyways, you know, my primary point is just that people can tell. And they pick up on that a lot of times. Yeah, Dan Clancy, check it out. He has a long history at NASA and Google. Very, very decorated past in terms of his positions. Did you know that Jack Black's parents are rocket scientists? I did not know that. We were actually, me and John were talking about Scientology. Did you guys know that there's a shit ton of like Hollywood celebrities and also people even in like the skateboarding community that are really high up that are Scientologists just randomly? There's a lot of extremely intelligent streamers. I mean, there's streamers that like code things a lot live. This one girl, this Australian girl I used to watch all the time, her name was Slut Sandwich or Riot, another word or a name that she went by was Riot. And she used to code all this unique shit for her stream constantly. Just cool shit that chat could do, cool shit that like her avatar would do, all kinds of awesome stuff. And she just made all this shit on the fly, just coding it out of nowhere. And I'm like, man, I respect the hell out of that because that is so difficult for me to do. The son of satellite engineers, Thomas William Black and Judith Love Cohen. That's crazy. But yeah, there's a lot of celebrities, and even like Eric Costin and Steve Barra are the co-owners of a private skate park in LA called the Barracks, and they're both Scientologists randomly. The theory goes that it's like a tax thing, like they get a lot of tax write-offs and tax breaks that they wouldn't otherwise get, but because they claim themselves to be a religious entity or like a church of some kind, they're able to get the tax breaks. But nobody, it's very hush-hush, like nobody will talk about it. If you ask them about why they're a Scientologist, they won't say because typically it's for financial reasons. His mother worked on the Minuteman nuclear missile guidance system, the Apollo lunar module guidance system, the science ground station for the Hubble telescope, and was also a writer. That's fucking crazy. Yeah, we were actually, me and John were talking about this a little bit, but they call them Nepo babies. Basically, you guys know what nepotism is. It's like giving your direct relative a leg up in a community or a job because they're related to the manager or whatever. That's what it means in a very broad sense. But there's so many people in Hollywood that are the sons and daughters of already rich and famous people or investors. And a lot of people were surprised by that. Like, oh my God, they're all like part of the same. It's like, yeah, no shit. Like for somebody like me that jumped down the conspiracy rabbit hole like 10, 12 years ago, I was fucking watching videos with in the double digit views. Like they didn't even have 100 views and people were talking about this shit way back when. So I'm like, guys, you guys are late to the party. But nowadays conspiracy content, especially on YouTube shorts, is like popping off, dude. Holy shit. Governor Huckabee and his governor daughter, Nepo as fuck. Yeah, I mean, that happens a lot in politics too, like the Bushes and the Clintons. How is there like a gigantic lineage of Bushes and Clintons that all get these really high paying jobs in the government? I mean, come on now. We're not stupid. We know how these things work. Oh, dude, the new thing? I'm not going to play it, but I saw this fucking video earlier about Joe Rogan talking about the clouds in SpongeBob. And it was so convincing that both me and Bridget thought it was real at first. It had like his cadence. It had the way that he stops and starts talking. It had his breath going into the mic as he was speaking. Dude, it was so fucking convincing. I was like, what the fuck? And this is the new trend, is to take a clip of Joe Rogan where the mic is covering his lips and you can't see what he's saying. And then you just make a really convincing AI edit of him saying something. And then it tricks people into thinking it's a real clip. I wonder if he's eventually, he probably won't because it basically gives him free publicity, but I wonder if he would ever go in on those people and start flagging, you know, those videos. It'd be hilarious if he did. You know, like all the AI generated content mills. And dude, there's entire channels of this stuff now. There's entire channels of just, what they'll do is they'll run an algorithm where an AI voice will read a Wikipedia summary of a movie while clips from the movie play, and it'll just say like, you won't believe how this movie ends. X movie was released in 2018 and it is about a boy doing this or a guy or whatever the fuck it's about, you know, and it'll just give the most Wikipedia general summation of the plot. And there's like millions of views on these videos. It's literally just AI content mills. It's like content farms from really weird channels, man. It's crazy how quick this stuff grew. His Alpha Brain supplement ads are hilarious though. Yeah. Yeah, Joe Rogan in a lot of ways was kind of the innovator when it came to long form podcasts, but I do feel like it's one of the most oversaturated things right now. And a lot of people have said that to me, like, why are you getting into this when it's so saturated? I'm getting into it because it's fun and it's different than game content. You know, I was so fucking burnt out after October of last year of the, talk for 30 minutes and then play a horror game format that I was almost burned out for good. I'll be 100% honest. So if it wasn't for us changing it up and diversifying what we do and getting some awesome guests on to talk about their lives and their motivations, I feel like it would be a lot harder for me to continue. I don't think I would have quit, but I think I just would have focused more time and effort on YouTube, which I am still going to do throughout the year. But yeah, it's very saturated. Like, the thing that kills me is when you just go on YouTube now and you just see celebrities that just name the podcast their own name. Howie Mandel Does Stuff is the name of his podcast. Howie Mandel Does Stuff? Really? And every fucking title that he has is just his name and then a celebrity's name. Howie Mandel talks to Anne Hathaway about how she eats a cupcake. Millions of views. Howie Mandel talks to Gene Simmons about Kiss. Millions of views. You know what I mean? It's like his celebrity name, their celebrity name. That's how he gets all the attention in the algorithm, is his guests. And I'm not blaming him for that. I'm just saying, like, it's very saturated. Yeah, and it's like, who was that one guy that was in Walking Dead who played Shane? John Bernthal. He has like Real Ones with John Bernthal. There's like 4 Real Ones podcasts, but Real Ones with John Bernthal. And fucking, yeah, everybody and their dog has, like, Bobby Lee's got a podcast, and Theo Vaughn, and all these comedians have podcasts. And whenever the pandemic hit, it was like everybody just said, fuck it, I'm just going to go on whatever website and order $5,000 worth of podcasting equipment and just start shooting. Hire an editor to put like 2 or 3 different cameras, shots to edit them together, and just go for it. Dude, there's fucking porn podcasts now. Literally porn. Like, they interview a porn star and then they fuck after the interview is over. This is how far we've gotten with podcasting. It's the same guy that runs No Jumper. I'm not even kidding. It's a real thing that exists. He on No Jumper, I've watched a few interviews on there, and he's talked about that before. He's like, yeah, that's on our other podcast called This, where we interview and then fuck. I'm like, what? That's a what? Let's Have Fun Playing or Best Friends Play. Well, Best Friends Play was a really popular thing back in the day. Let's Play content for a while was pretty innovative because nobody had ever done it. I think when PewDiePie did the whole corner cam while playing a horror game thing, that's when it really exploded, which was 2011. People had played horror games in the past, but it was always just the game and them like screaming over it. It was never the corner cam where you could see their live reaction. That's kind of where he innovated on that. And also Amnesia. Amnesia was the first game that I remember that fucking took over YouTube. Amnesia: The Dark Descent completely took over YouTube, and anybody that says it didn't was not paying attention, because it did. That fucking game had so many mods and so many videos made about it. PewDiePie always felt so fake. Well, he admitted like he doesn't want to watch any of his videos that are older than like 2012 because he was just playing a character. I found out about him from South Park, yeah. And then Markiplier came on, and I was just asking Bridget to turn the heat on, but yeah, Markiplier came around, and then Jacksepticeye came around the same time, like 2011 to 2012 was when all those guys kind of blew up. But yeah, Amnesia was hugely influential. I would say Amnesia probably inspired PT as well. Amnesia inspired so many of those hide and seek horror games that came out in the 2010s. So fucking many of them, dude. Oh, SeeNanners started out in YouTube. You know what actually got SeeNanners to blow up in the beginning is his quality. He had the Blackmagic Intensity Pro capture card, which was one of the first like genuinely really high quality internal PCIe capture cards. And so his quality was like second to none. And that's kind of what blew him up originally. And of course he has like a radio voice and all that. Yeah, there's been a lot of YouTubers that have quit, like Freddie Wong. One of the first YouTubers I ever watched was Freddie Wong. You guys remember the Rocket Jump channel where they would do like VFX and different scenes and stuff? He completely quit YouTube. Kasim G completely quit YouTube. Fucking Ray William Johnson completely quit it, and they're all focusing on other things. Yeah, Freddie is, I think he's actually a professional VFX artist for Hollywood now. And he also made that Video Game High School series or whatever. And then he also has a podcast now that's doing incredibly well. And that's basically funding all of his other projects. Yeah, he's just not on YouTube anymore, but yes, he moved over to like Facebook and TikTok doing the same stuff he's always done. But he did outright quit YouTube kind of out of nowhere. But yeah, a lot of the people that I used to watch way back in the day are no longer on. Like Fred is, now, not that I was like a Fred fan or anything, but I just remember Fred was the first person that ever hit 1 million subs on YouTube, and that was like a landmark moment. Yeah, but you know, Ray William Johnson was responsible for a lot of people's careers blowing up. Did you know that Ray William Johnson is directly responsible for Boogie2988 getting a boost to his channel that eventually got him to like 4 million subs? Because he featured the Francis Gets His WoW Account Hacked video. And that gave like a massive boost to Boogie's channel at the time in like 2011. And ever since then, you know, Boogie kind of, from there until like 2018, I think is when Boogie's channel peaked. Ever since then, it's been a little bit, you know, on a downward trend, but from 2011 to 2018, he basically took that momentum that Ray gave him and built a really successful channel. So, you know, back in the day, everybody used to meme and be like, oh, Ray William Johnson's not funny. It's like, yeah, well, he may not have been funny, but he started a lot of people's YouTube careers. And there was also a big controversy about whether or not he was view botting. Oh, Fungo. Yeah, Fungo is gone. Tina Bay. Oh, Xfizz Gig. I don't know who that is, but yeah, Fungo disappeared. Fungo was actually uploading the full cutscenes from the Silent Hill games all the way back in 2006. He was one of the first people to just upload the cutscenes raw. And yeah, I used to watch his streams just as recently as just a few years ago, and I don't know if he has a Discord or what, but he just completely dropped off the face of the earth. Tina and Fungo both retired. Yeah. Yeah, content creation is a very time-consuming endeavor, man. It's a lot of legwork, and it's a lot of time, and it's a lot of energy, and I can't blame people for quitting. You know, if they have other things they want to do in life and content creation is getting in the way, you just got to quit, you know, especially if you've put in so much time and you just can't get the results that you're looking for. I understand why that's very demotivating. But at the same time, look at people like Shroud. They streamed like 2 or 3 years to basically 0 viewers. And now look at them, you know? So for me, you know, who knows? Maybe someday things will start happening. But even if they don't, this isn't my primary thing that I do, you know? I work full time and I've got other endeavors that I do. So it doesn't sting too deeply because of that. But of course, if it was my main thing, it would hurt pretty bad. Right, and drama. You know, you always gotta worry. And nowadays, fabricating evidence is the new fucking trend. Like everybody did with Dream. Like Dream made a response video where he addressed basically all the bullshit and proved how easy it is to just make false allegations. Like you can so easily just throw together a snapshot or a Snapchat screenshot of you opening a snap from some random person that has the same name of the person you're accusing. Like it's so easy to just make fake screenshots and even now with AI voice, it's easy to fake somebody's voice saying and doing something. Wish I just had like a handful of people to hang out with when I stream. I need people to talk to or it's not entertaining. Yeah, a lot of times when I stream, you know, if people aren't necessarily interested in what's going on, I just kind of talk about the game and my history with the game. And, you know, I have this irrational fear that nobody will give a shit sometimes. And it hasn't panned out in like 3+ years, so I don't really worry about that anymore. But it's all about just having fun, you know? You just have a good time with a game that you love and put it out there. So many people ghost streaming someone else's gameplay. Oh, you mean like playing their video and pretending like they're playing? Yeah, that happened in Fortnite. I can't remember who it was exactly, but that happened in Fortnite once where a guy was pretending like he was popping off and he was literally just stealing footage from a smaller Fortnite player that was like really good at the game. And he was just stealing footage, pretending like he was doing it. Oh yeah, Sniper Wolf, yeah. There's a video called like Sniper Wolf Stole Her Life, and it pretty much shows definitive proof that she's copying a Canadian YouTuber named Azzyland. And the funny thing is, Azzyland is from Toronto. And Sniper Wolf isn't even Canadian to my knowledge, but Sniper Wolf has over time developed a Toronto accent because she's trying so hard to be like Ezzyland. It's so weird, man. It's so bizarre. Yeah, it's so bizarre. Like, you're not even from there. Why are you going to fake an accent? That's so weird, man. Very questionable behavior. But yeah, I think, you know, the main thing is sorry, my voice. Over reliance on other people is also a big problem sometimes, because just like the people pleasing mentality doesn't lead anywhere positive. If your stream is contingent on other people, I don't know if that's going to succeed. You have to be contingent on whether or not you enjoy yourself. That's got to be first, because the game, the podcast, the icons, whatever the fuck is on your screen is irrelevant. You are the content. And if you, as the content, are coming into it not energized, you're not having fun, you're not enjoying yourself, people are going to know. No, it's not gatekeeping. It's just what I've learned. And an ability to stay consistent has to be contingent on yourself before it's contingent on other people. Maybe, you know, for the first few times, if you just want to very occasionally do it, that's okay. I'm not allowed to stream and have friends because I hate them. No, that's not what I said at all. I'm saying if you want to remain consistent, you have to trust yourself to enjoy it. You know, if you're not, that just comes down to the primary tenet of streaming. If you're not having fun, you shouldn't do it. You know, only stream because it's fun. It's fun to hang out with your friends too, but like there's other avenues to do that you don't necessarily have to be live to do. The 10 Commandments? No. Just one of the things about streaming that I've learned over time is like, you know, over reliance on other people is something that's kind of rough. And I've seen very successful streamers talk about this. Yeah, I stream because I want to play and share. Exactly. Like, I just want to play a game that I'm really into and share it with some people. It doesn't necessarily have to be that way. But, you know, a lot of times my mentality is like, why would I just play this in private when I can go live and share it with people? That's what gaming is for me now, is sharing it with people. Speaking of which, just out of curiosity, how interested would you guys be in like a Guitar Hero 2 or Guitar Hero Rocks the 80s stream? Because I have both of those games on PS2, and I think that would be fun. I actually have a couple of guitars. You can tell when a streamer is yawning or bored. You get bored too. Absolutely, yeah, 100%. You can tell. Like, I've watched streams where the stream is genuinely doing really well, and the person just starts to get bored, and you can tell like they're glancing over at their time, and I know I can literally see it in their face when they want to call the stream and end it, because they're looking over at the how long they've been live, and they're waiting for that hour threshold to shit. They're waiting for that hour threshold to hit. Dibs on first track, No One Like You. Oh, let me show you guys. I have what's known as the Kramer Striker, which was a very good PS2 guitar. Wireless. "12 hours is like military shifts. Fuck that. Yeah. Well, it would most likely get the VOD muted, but I'm recording the podcast locally, so that's fine. Just change over to Guitar Hero now. No. We gotta finish the podcast first. Yeah, and you know, it's kind of arbitrary too, the unhealthy 24-hour streams. Back in the day, doing a 24-hour stream used to... Nah, come on, Saul, don't tell me what to do. Doing a 24-hour stream back in the day was like it was like an instant formula for getting a bunch of people interested in your channel. But it's definitely not that way anymore. You know, doing these types of hours is crazy. And there are people that like, no, you know what, Salt? I'm pissed. I am so mad I could spit. I'm furious, as you can tell. Yeah, like 10-hour shifts are pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. 4 10s and 3 days off is sick, especially if you have 3 consecutive days off. My only problem with that, and not 5 8s, is that it makes me feel like I'm on vacation, having 3 off days a week. But yeah. So yeah, you know, I guess, you know, the primary focus of this is just, you know, take care of yourself, be very diligent about who you let in your life. And if you want to get into content creation, you want to get into streaming, and you feel that there are any barriers to entry, honestly, hop in my Discord and we can talk about it. You don't have to DM me, but I've actually got a text channel called PC Chat in my Discord, and it's an area where, you know, I like to talk to people about it if they have any questions, or otherwise about how to get into streaming. Maybe settings are a barrier for them, or equipment is a barrier for them, or they don't know how to configure transitions or set up transitions, or a lot of different things. I'm extremely passionate about all this, and I love to impart that advice if I can to help anybody out, because I've done an ungodly amount of research, and my hope is that nobody else would have to put in the amount of time that I have. So, you know, that's really all I wanted to say. If anybody would like to join the Discord, the link is going to be in the description. And obviously the link to both of my YouTube channels. I've got not only a stream VOD channel, but also a personal YouTube channel where I upload all these episodes. You can check that out. But until then, we'll be back next week, potentially with another guest, but it will be the night of Valentine's. So we'll be back next week with I hope, a special guest. And I appreciate everybody watching, and we'll be back next week with another episode. I'm pointing at you. Yeah, not him. You.